So here to talk through this parking lot puzzle by Murat Can Tonta that's on a hex grid, and compared to yesterday's puzzle that had extra rules, the extra parking rules, where you can have uninclude things, and you also had to have all the white cells connected in some ways. This is the most basic set of parking lot rules. So we're only placing one by two or 1 by 3 sets that have one number in them. So all the given numbers will inform those. And there's no constraint on the white cells. So this is really about the automobile to automobile interactions. And where the theme of this puzzle is the empty center, there's not much I see to do around there. What I can do is look around big clues and see like this 5 doesn't go left, right, or this 5 doesn't go up in this direction. I think these border clues look like the first thing that's drawing my attention. I've got 3 5s as I go around the grid, 3 4s, and they're going to only be seeing along these edges. So let's take this 5 as an example. It's got 2 choices, but if it's going in that direction, all of these get to be unseen. Sorry, all of these are seen, which means the 4 is coming out this way and maybe seeing these cells. And in doing that, this 5 can't point in that direction too, because then it would see 5 and this sees 4. This has to keep going around. So there's an all clockwise turning of this and an all counterclockwise turning of this, it looks like it's forming. And one step further than that is this cell isn't seen by any other number but this 5. So once this 5 goes left, this is seen. And so these 4s are always 3 long and the 5s are always 2 long. And there are 2 options here, so I've drawn in one of them. The other is where this 4 goes to the right and this 5 comes up, still that space, this 4 this way, this 5 this way, this 4 this way, that 5 that way. So the star of this puzzle looks to be that we have an either or constraint, but we've got these cells for sure that are observed. And does that help us anywhere? Well, around these number clues, not so much. Around the 0, absolutely. So anytime you mark an unshaded, a visible cell near a car that's a 0 car, it can't go in the direction that points into this because you'd then see these. So this has to go left, right. And so this is a good start to this. And we don't know if the car uses these cells, but it's probably helpful to think about this row because we're gonna have to block this off. So what are cars that can block this off? I can block here or block here, but actually this isn't an option. So this cell is actually not blockable by anything because this 4 can't come down. And the same is true over here. And my guess is this geometry has that around the whole of the grid, and that looks true. So except for this 0 could go like this. But I can't make a 2 work, can't make a 5 work, I can't make a 2 work if I turn in those spaces. Is there anything else can block over here? The only other number it reaches is a 0 coming to here, but that 0 would then see stuff, so that's no good. So this absolutely must be blocked. This 0 must come to the right. And the same thinking applies over here. This 0 can come down to here and get blocked by this 4. So I can't do more of it yet, but there's still some tension here that the only other number I have that can reach down is this 3 or that 0. So let's see how that gets forced as we work through the next stage of the puzzle. But this 4 to this cell looks like a great thing to follow up on. So this cell, this is 1, this is 2, 3, and this is potentially the 4th. So this is 1 unit longer or not. But we've got this constraint. What that now does is forces this 2 to be in this direction. And let's again go back to our thinking about blockers. Can anything block to this cell? No numbers can reach into there that are close enough. Nothing can block this cell, so the only cells that can reach this is this number 2. Nothing can block to here either. So what I actually have across this is I can get rid of 3 of these 4 cells, but I'm always going to see one of them either on this extreme or this extreme. And that means I must block here and must block here. And this has to be turned in from the 2, and this has to be turned in from the 5. So I actually know the outside of the grid by working through this 2 constraint and seeing I've got to block this cell. So I'll now catch up by just marking that all clockwise orientation for these clues and get rid, for the answer check purposes, of these extra lines. And shade this, shade this, shade this, shade this. We put in this 2, which is going to then always see at least this cell. And we'll want to make some progress here. I think we also still have what we can return to in the bottom, so we've now eliminated this option, so this 3 has to block into this space, and that will then always see this cell. So this can be the 3rd, or this can be the 3rd, and this 0 goes over. So this looks like an okay start, and let's come back to this 2. And the reason this is drawing my eye is because as I keep scanning this direction, I'm hitting this 5 clue. Haven't looked at this yet, except for saying one direction is off. There are 6 cells that go this way and 6 cells that go this way. So this could conceptually look like an either or, either or. But notice in this direction, you can only take as many as 2 up to the top. So you always have to take 3 down here. And those 3 would have to be part of the same group that this 2 is seeing. I think the only other way that works is if you had this divide, and then it would be part of a different group it's seeing. But that's only seeing 1 cell. It's not seeing 3 cells. And that's really bad. So this 2 communicates straight into this 5 and says you can no longer make a 5 work on this diagonal. So this 5 works this way. These 4 cells are always seen, and then one of these 2 is seen. And the thing that this notation will mean is like nothing else is coming into these cells. So like we're not blocking up to here as we do this. It's like where this 3 can't go left, right, and it can't go in these directions. This 3 is coming this way, but it's not coming up to here. And don't know more for its blocking, but it's at least in this space. So we're just seeing the kind of visual pull as we mark this in. This 2 at the top, based on the greens, looks like it's actually pretty important. So it can only go left, right, and this is a cell that can't be seen or blocked by any other number, particularly now that the 5 we know is horizontal. This cell is only blockable by the 2. This cell is only blockable by the 2. And if this cell is seen through, we'd have a real issue. So we've got to do this on this side to get this count to be reasonable. I can mark off this and then 1 more of these cells, but I'm left behind with a count of 2. So this looks like it's forced. This 2 is always going to see to this cell. And we now have a case where like a cell like this can only be blocked by the 1. So let's do the same kind of thing we did here and just keep it going along this edge of the grid. Let's say the 1 was going along this diagonal. On this diagonal, this cell can't be blocked by anything else. This cell can't be blocked by anything else. This cell can't be blocked by anything else. It can't be blocked by the 0, because then the 0 would see this cell here. This can't be blocked by this. So the only cell I can block is this one. So I can take 3 cells away, but I'm going to see at least 3 by this clue. That's very broken. So there is no 1 along that direction. The 1 is in this direction. These are part of it for sure. This is seen, and this is part of either the 1 or another car. I actually think that same logic is going to work down here for this one. So I'll sort of give the quick sketch again, but like this cell can't be blocked, this cell can't be blocked. So even just in this direction, we can't block anything to keep from seeing these 2 cells. So this is no good. This edge is no good. This one has to come this way, and that marks this in, marks this in, and marks this in as a car, not necessarily part of that one. That's really putting some limits now on this 4 clue. And the cell being part as marked, that also means we can't go this direction with the 4, so the 4 has to come this way. I can see as many as 3 in the spot, so this has to be the car that comes to here, and I will have some visibility out in this direction, so I have to at least have 1 more cell on this side. And this could be a count of 4, so I don't need to necessarily see 1 more on this side. But the reason I like this notation with this line is it does mean this 3 doesn't go straight to the left. That would block it off. This 3 doesn't come this way, it doesn't have enough cells to go that way, it can't see 3 in this direction, so it has 1 exit left, which is this one, and it's going to see at least 3 cells, so we'll always see to here. I don't think I can mark more than that at the moment, but this is a great start. What's some other clues I haven't looked at? I think this 4 is looking interesting at this moment, and in part that's because it can't come this way. And at this stage, it actually can't go this way either. So at the start of this puzzle, we would know this is an upper right, lower left kind of clue. It can reach as far as the cell with 3. That would leave behind 1 IC, 2, 3, 4 IC. I think this is always required, where I will block off at least 1 of these cells. So this is how I get out to a count of 4. That's now putting something near the 0, so this 0 doesn't come upper left, lower right, and let me just mark everything else in gray now. I didn't do this at the start, but consistent with this notation, it's helpful to see all the shadings and what those then interfere with. One thing that drawing these lines does is I know this 5 can't come this way, and I actually only have 5 cells left for in that direction. That's not enough. I need to have 6. So this 5 is working this way as a concept, and it's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 cells in this direction. At least 1 is taken down here, so I can't lose 2 up here. So this has to be visible. This has to be visible. And then I can't have an interaction at the ends, but I can't lose more than 1 more cell. So this 5 has to go to the right. This 2 takes an extra cell to the left. How does this 3 work? This has to be visible, and only 1 more cell is taken. That is going to put some more limits, I think, around the space, because now I have this cell can't be reached by anything, so this is visible, but it's not visible by this 2, so I have to have a car and this being visible. That car has to be from this 2. Is that going to work out for us? I think we certainly know the 0 is not easily going to the right. It wants to be blocked. Got some other stuff going on here, but let's come back to this side. So this 3 can't go straight to the right because it hits that 5 clue. It can't come straight to the lower right because it also blocks out that 5 clue. So this is an issue. This is an issue. That's kind of why I draw these spans this way, because these are still lines of sight to think carefully about. The 3 doesn't go this way, and so it only has this option, which takes this car. I've not done a good job of doing this, but notice I can't ever reach this position now, can't reach this position now. This 2 is finished if this is unshaded. So these 3 in a row could be what this 3 sees, but this is not an unshaded cell. This is part of a car. Could be this car. Could be this car. If it's this one, then this 3 is seeing over to the right and blocking off here. That looks credible, so I'm not going to mark anything more off at this stage, but marking these in is at least a great start. I can't ever see or block to this cell, and this 0 doesn't go this way. This 0 doesn't go to this way, so this 0 wants to be left right, and it then doesn't want to, it needs to be blocked over here, but that blocking can't block the 4, so I think we actually know what I'd drawn in is right, and so this is the whole set for that 4. That's seeing 3 up top, needs to see 1 down here. This is then part of another automobile. Can it be part of the 0? That would require seeing these because no cells can see that, so this has to be part of the 3. That means there is 3 in the center here, so this 4 is seeing 3 in the center as well because it's connecting to the same group in its line of sight. So that means we need to keep 1 up here, mark 1 off down there at least. Could be a second one marked off, so we don't know more than that, but this shape is going to help us. I can't reach to this cell, I can't reach to this cell. This 0 doesn't want to come straight to the left because it blocks off that 3. How does this 0 get working? I think there's still some limits there. Maybe it's that we can do more around like this 4. So this 4, this can never be reached by any other cell, so the car has to take this extra cell to only see 4. We now have some more limits around like this 4. This 4 can't come this way because we've blocked off this cell and it can't come this way, so this 4 has to go this way, and that means this is an unused cell, and then we have an either or. 2 doesn't want to then come up and block, so the 2 is this way or this way. I think I can make both of those options work. We'd have to do some blocking up here for that to work, basically by the 1 to come in this direction. So still a lot of choices, and more we'll have to work through. So this 0 doesn't come this way. So this 0 is coming down and getting blocked, or it's coming this way and getting blocked. If this is coming this way and getting blocked, this 0 is coming over and doing that blocking, then something else is blocking it. So there's a long chain that might be possible there, but right now I'm not seeing it immediately. I think there is some stuff you can do around this 2, though. This 2 doesn't come straight in this direction, so this is always a visible cell. This 2, if it comes up this way, blocks off the 3, so that's no good. And if it doesn't do that, it also doesn't do this. It comes this way. So that looks like what I meant to see. That puts this in and marks this off, and that progress may finally do some more forcing down here. It's keeping this 3 from going upper right, lower left. It's doing some limits, I think around the 0. The 0 no longer comes this way. And that actually means this 0 no longer comes this way. So this cell being marked off means this 0 has to come this direction, and this 3 has to block it, which means this has to be unused. I need to still have a cell blocked before this comes in, so I shade this in. That's now meaning this direction doesn't work for the 3, so the 3 works like this. This is open. That means this is not how the 0 works. This whole stretch can only be reached by the 0, so the 0 doesn't want to go that way. The 0 wants to come this way. This 2 doesn't want to take this direction because now it's C1, 2, 3 together, so it comes this way. That marks this in, that marks this off. We still are going to need to have this 3 working on its own, and so this 0 needs to have one more cell blocked. That's this one. This becomes open, so those all look good for the 3. So this 1 clue now can't come direction as we think about it. So it's either up or right or left right. And some of that's going to get resolved as we actually think through the last bits of these clues. So let's get some more travel. This 3 has to have this cell visible. That now is making this direction bad. So this has to go this way. The cell isn't reachable by anything. This 0 now doesn't want to go left, right, or in this direction. It only comes this direction. That marks us off. That marks us in. This 2 still needs to see 2 cells, so if this is blocked, it never gets to 2, so it needs to do this for this, for this to work out. That now requires this 3 to come this way and not this way. Nothing reaches to these. This 0 doesn't come this way if this set isn't seen, so knowing that this is green. We have 1, 2, 3 coming from the top, and at least 1 from the bottom. So I think having a 3 long 5 is necessary. And what we actually see, look, this 3 can no longer come to the left now that we've marked this cell off. This has to block the 3, and the 3 has to see all the way over to here. That means the 5 does come to this cell, and this is marked off, so that 5 now works. This 0 can't come this way anymore, so it's got to come this way. This 2 has to see 2 cells, and that's going to have to be left, right, but they have to be blocking this 0. So this is open. 0 doesn't come up or left, up, right, so 0 has to go this way. That means the last cell that can take this is there, and we're through the puzzle. And it looks like there's an Easter egg at the end. Notice that empty center at the start. It's an empty center in the finish. This parking lot doesn't like to use those 7 cells in that internal hexagon. So really great Sunday Stumper. Unfortunately, this isn't as common a style. Probably learning heuristics in this puzzle is a harder step, but hopefully got something through my visualization of how to mark in these lines of visibility and travel, knowing for sure when we've got green and gray cells in different ways, and then just trying to circulate around the grid. It was really interesting the break-in with these 5, 4, 5, 4, 5, 4 around the borders, but how that then intersects with these zeros and gives us some paths through these edges, how this 2 worked, how this 2 worked, how this 1 worked, how this 1 worked, etc. Like a lot of ways you chip away step by step. So hopefully this video gave you any of the ahas you would have missed. Appreciate, Murat, the hard challenge, and thank you for your time, and we'll see you again soon.